In our very first story, leadership of the minority in Parliament is assuring Member of Parliament for Whole West and Chairman of the Volta Region Caucus, Emmanuel Bejra, will no longer resign his position. This was after the NDC's national executives met to resolve his concerns. Mr. Bejra reportedly tendered in his resignation this morning over frustrations with the meddling by national executives in local elections to choose constituency leaders. In the latest such alleged meddling, national executives are said to have postponed elections scheduled for this weekend in his constituency without consulting him. That postponement has since been reversed by the NDC's General Secretary Johnson Esiedun Ketia, indicating the elections will come off as planned. Leadership of the minority say Mr. Bejra is a happy man now. Minority member on Parliament's Communications Committee Samuel George says Mr. Bejra is not going anywhere.
Well, based on the briefing that I had with leadership this morning and this afternoon on issues relating to public relations and the minority, we still have 106 members of the minority at post. Honorable Emmanuel Bejra is in Parliament today, performing his duties as a Member of Parliament for Whole West. I'm unaware at this point in time that there's been a resignation. If there was a resignation, the Speaker was in the chamber. The Speaker would have announced it. The Speaker did not announce any such resignation. So I don't see why we should be talking about a resignation that doesn't exist.
Because there are efforts on the part of the minority leadership to get him to rescind, which is how come you've probably not seen it being brought to the floor.
You can only gather something of that nature if there really is something to rescind. As far as I'm aware, there's nothing to rescind. 100 times 0 is 0. So there's nothing to rescind.
Yeah, he has concerns about how the party at the national level are handling constituency executive elections in his area to the extent that they've suspended it, which is why he thinks it's time to take action, hence the resignation. Has anything like that come up, at least from what you know?
Well, it's not in my place to speak to hearsay and rumor. I would speak to facts and evidence-based assertions. I mean, all of what you've suggested here is rumor. Rumor mongering. It's not something that we can be seen to be speaking to. But I mean, ask yourself if there are issues with party administration. Parliament, resigning from Parliament doesn't fix those issues. So that clearly does not even assert or buttress the fact that he would want to consider resignation on that score. I believe that Honorable Emmanuel Bejra still remains chairman of the Volta Caucus, still remains chairman of the Ghana chapter of APNAC, the African Parliamentarians Network Against Corruption, a leading member of the minority, still president of the Parliament Christian Fellowship.
All right, so joining us on phone right now is Alhaji Muttaka Mubarak, who's the minority chief whip, and we will be speaking with him in a bit. But good evening to you, Alhaji Mubarak.
Hello, good evening to you and your listeners, Israel.
Yes. Now, we have also our parliamentary correspondent, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, who is with me in the studio. So, Joseph, let's start off from where this story emerged. We heard that Emmanuel Bejra was resigning or was threatening to resign as a member of parliament. Now, we're told by his colleague MP that he never really contemplated that. I mean, where did the story come from?
So our colleagues with Adom News in Parliament had a conversation with him, right. And that was when he gave the hint. And from the additional checks that we did, we got the indication that he had concerns about how things were being managed in his constituency back in Whole West. The problem being that apparently they had allegedly repeatedly interfered in the processes when it comes to election in his constituency with the branch executives and also constituency executives of the National Democratic Congress, to the extent that in the latest such alleged interference, there was a situation of, this coming weekend, there's the plan to hold the constituency executive elections in the various constituencies. The claim is that the party took a decision to postpone that particular race in his constituency without consulting him, and that appeared, from what we gather, to have infuriated him further, and it's based on that he gave the indication that he was going to tender in his resignation, so that then if all of that was being done because the party executives would prefer someone else taking over his position as MP, then they would have their way even from now, without having to muddy the waters any further.
All right, so let's get on to the phone line and speak with Alhaji Muntaka Mubarak, who's the Minority Chief Whip. Now, what can you tell us about this whole story, how it started about the MP threatening to resign? Now we're getting indications that he never threatened to resign, but some concerns of his have been resolved, which supposes that there was an issue. What was the issue?
Well, Israel, let me say that the issue about Honorable Bezos resigning came to us as news because, I mean, there was no any such discussion. I mean, he hasn't mentioned any of such thing to any of us in the leadership. Yes, there were some internal challenges, and like every good family, you don't go on air or in public to be discussing your internal challenges that you had. But this morning, almost all the issues that were there had been resolved. And I was even to communicate that information to my colleague. Yes, he was not happy about a number of things that are happening. But this issue about resignation, he has never discussed it with me as the chief whip. He has never discussed it with anybody. Nobody, I mean, we all heard it, and we're all like, where is this thing coming from? So if Opoku Gakpo is saying that someone claims that he spoke to him directly, well, that is news to me. I haven't heard about this until when we heard people calling us asking. And I said, no, because I spoke to him this morning. He even told me he was having a meeting with his consultant executives. That was when we had tried to resolve all the challenges that there was with regards to the elections this morning. So this is what we know as far as we are concerned. None of us has received any letter. He has not written to Speaker. He has not written to any of us. He has not spoken to any of us about resignation. So I don't know where this is coming from.
But what are these challenges that you're saying that you have resolved?
Well, that's what I was saying. It's like you don't come discussing your family matters in public. I mean, these are internal issues. Just as we all know, every group or every family at one time or the other will have one issue or the other. But it's always resolved quietly. And it was our expectation that we were going to be able to resolve it as we have this morning. I don't think it is a matter for public consumption.
Well, you say it's not a matter for public consumption, but a bit of it is already out there, and it has to do with what he says is that meddling in the constituency's affairs by the national executives. At least that you can confirm, can you?
Well, that's what you are saying. I'm not ready to put our internal family matters to public. And I'm not going to say what you are saying is false or is true. All I know is that, yes, like a family, there were issues, and those issues have been resolved. And for me, it's not a matter that needs to be said in public.
All right, thank you very much. Alhaji Muntaka Mubarak is the Minority Chief Whip joining us on phone. Now, Joseph Opoku Gakpo is still with me in the studio.
Yeah. You mentioned one of the issues. There is a letter from the NDC's General Secretary, Johnson Asiru Nketia, and it's titled for immediate release. NDC constituency elections, June 13, 2018, addendum. And then it goes on to say, my attention is a 3-paragraph letter, so let me read that briefly. My attention has been drawn to the inclusion of the whole West in the voter region among the constituencies whose elections have been put on hold until further notice. I wish to indicate that the inclusion of the whole West constituency in the list was inadvertently done. The error is regretted. Consequently, the whole West constituency elections will come off on the 23rd June as previously scheduled. Right. That's coming up this weekend, and you understand that this is one of the major concerns that the MP had, that in his constituency, the plan had been rolled out to have this contest come off over this weekend, but then there was the situation of it being postponed by an announcement that came up a few days ago without him being consulted, and you know that's what Johnson Asiru Nketia has since reversed.
Do we understand why the MP will be unhappy with the postponement in election, apart from the fact that he's not being consulted? Is there another reason why?
So mainly the conversation has been around how he thinks this is something that they should have been consulted. We understand that in fact the decision on which constituencies elections should be postponed, we gather, was taken at an executive meeting, of the functional executive committee of the NDC. Now, the minority in parliament has a representation on that particular committee. So this was a collective decision that was taken. And from what again we're gathering, the minority couldn't participate in the latest such meeting that happened yesterday. So this decision was taken with virtually the entire minority being excluded, including himself and all the others. Well, you're asking of the other bits. There's also been conversations about how with the internal politics that's playing out in the party itself, various people aligning claims that he may not exactly be on the side of some of the major leaders, possibly including the former president, and so then there's probably the move to get him out there. These are all some of the concerns that have come up, which you know, the indication is it's contributing to this, and he's virtually fighting it off by trying to get all the issues cleared up now. All right,
thank you very much, Joseph Opokuka, for bringing us that update there. We're staying in Parliament, where the minority is asking the Inspector General of Police to investigate former director of the Dankwa Institute's Gabi Asare Chidako for his role in alleged faking of the national identification cards of some minority MPs. They also want the police to investigate presidential staffer Samuel Brian Boabeng for the same act. Pictures of the cards were circulated on social media over the weekend, days after the minority announced it is boycotting the registration process for the NIA's disallowance of the voter ID card as a means of verification. The NIA denied printing the fake cards. Minority member on the Communications Committee, Samuel George, says the Speaker's office has also been petitioned to look into the matter.
The NIA over the weekend has issued a disclaimer saying that they didn't issue those cards. However, those cards found expression on social media, first on the pages of the cousin to the president, Mr. Gabi Asare Chidako, and the presidential staffer Samuel Brian Boabeng. I mean, we need to be clear in our minds. Is this a state-sponsored attack on the NIA, where we are seeing state-sponsored elements begin to print national ID cards without the consent of the NIA?
And you are certain that their pages were first, you know, is the spot where they first emerged? They may not have picked it also from somewhere.
It is up to them to go and explain that to the police. We saw the pictures and images first from their pages, and once we saw them first from their pages, they're the ones we're putting together. We've put together all the evidence that we have, and we are furnishing the Ghana Police Service with it, and it's up to the police to do the investigation. All we are calling on the Inspector General of Police to do is that we know that we have a cybercrime unit in the Ghana Police Service. They should pick this investigation up seriously, because, I mean, it's not just because these are members of parliament, but to have the data of Ghanaians being picked up, and a critical national issue as the Ghana card, to have it being printed on the blind side of the NIA. I mean, what it portends for us as a nation going forward is very dangerous and very risky. We've also served the Speaker of Parliament, asking the Speaker of Parliament to commence an investigation in-house, because it appears that the data that was used in those fictitious, criminally produced cards appear to have come from Parliament. Parliamentarians' data ought to be protected, and so we need to investigate and see what kinds of protocols is the House of Parliament data protection compliant. We have a data protection commission. Are we compliant? What's the management of our data? How is that data being protected? So we're asking the Speaker to also look at that.
So have you sent the petition to the police already, or you know about doing
it? As we speak, the petition is in transit to the police.
And essentially, you're asking that Samuel Brian Boabeng, Gabi Chidako are investigated for their roles in issuing.
They should explain the source of the cards that they've put out, because the NIA says it's not them who printed those cards. So since they are the people who have circulated those cards on social media, they should inform the police how they came by those cards or the images of those cards.
In a related development, the Progressive People's Party has expressed shock over the minority MP's opposition to the use of only passports and birth certificates as primary documents for the registration of the Ghana card. According to the National Policy Advisor for the PPP, Kofi Asamoah Siang, the minority at the committee level agreed to the exclusion of voters' ID and driver's licenses as a list of documents for the registration of the Ghana card. He spoke at a news conference in Accra.
We are completely shocked, and we see that as a complete disservice. Maybe it's in their DNA not to get us on the path of proper development.
But of course, Kofi, the minority is not kicking against the entire process. In fact, I've not heard the minority saying that Ghanaians should boycott the process, but they are saying that for them, they represent a constituency, and so they wouldn't register whilst their constituent will not have the opportunity to also register.
Yeah, but that's what they're saying. So they are boycotting the process.
Yes, so they are boycotting the process.
Yes.
So this is not about.
Yeah, and they campaign, and like you said, you are campaigning to your constituents not to do so. And don't forget, they are leaders of this country in their own constituencies, national level, in parliament, and so on and so forth. So if you lead an army and you tell them that don't go left, go right, are you doing that, issuing that command in the national interest? In our case, no. They are doing a disservice to Ghana, especially when that command has no basis. They don't have any legitimate basis to cry the cry they are crying. I'm saying to you, if the only legitimate concern the NDC has is that voters' ID card has been excluded, they were in parliament, they forced or helped to include, if you like, exclude the voters' ID in this case. They have an agenda. They have an agenda. It's an ulterior agenda, dangerous to the political stability of this country, and they should discard that mindset.
And what do you think the agenda is? To sabotage the effort of the NIA?
They don't want an organized society. Otherwise, why would you come and put a stop at this exercise? Why would you campaign against it? It is the fundamental. You don't want that you create a forest and people are running helter-skelter. You don't catch anybody, and people do commit crimes, hide here and there, and all of that. If they want to protect that kind of constituency, they should say so.
Accusation and allegation.
Yeah, but that is important. If you don't do that now, when would you want to do that? So if something like that is supposed to be done 10 years ago, in fact, the idea was mooted 17 years ago. If I were a member of the minority, I would be running to go and get the card done. Because 17 years, just imagine somebody's pay doesn't come over 17 years. So what is fundamental to our progress and our development? They should commit to it.
Watching Joy Newsroom, we're taking a break, but still ahead, it's been distraction to property and misery following hours of torrential rainfall in parts of the country.
All my bed were wetted. It touched my room. It raised to a level of about 3 feet, and the whole house, everywhere is flooded.
We hear from the National Disaster Management Organization about the aftermath of Monday night's downpour, and from the Ghana Meteorological Agency, which is forecasting more rain. Stay tuned. And the Ghana Union of Traders Association GUTA is pressing on the Finance Ministry the need to have standard rates for duty payments at the ports independent of the market rate. The association says this has become necessary following the increased depreciation in the local currency, which has had a negative effect on their businesses. We'll be speaking with the Deputy Finance Minister Kweku Kwarteng shortly. But first, let's listen to President of GUTA, Dr. Joseph Obeng, who says the constant depreciation in the city has resulted in varied costs of clearing the same quantity of goods at a given period of time.
We repeat that if the depreciation of the currency is going to continue, then there should be a strategy also for the trading community to have some kind of respite. So we will plead with you, if we can peg the dollar for the purposes of duty payment for maybe 1 month, because it's not our fault that the currency is depreciating. If care is not taken, what we are going to think is that government deliberately let the currency depreciate, so that when we pay more duty, you get more. Yes, that's the layman's way of thinking, and we think that because first we knew that there was a deliberate policy of devaluation. So then, is it a modern way of devaluation, so that we pay more? We pay when we pay the duty, and we change in more cities. Government, that's the assumption, and then justifiably so, somebody will be taking that is saying the right thing. So if we can peg the dollar monthly for the purposes of duty payment, then it will also help us.
We were hoping to get to speak with the Deputy Minister of Finance, Kweku Kwarteng. We have as yet been unable to reach him. When we do, we will bring you that interview. In other news, Operation Vanguard has arrested 18 illegal miners along the Ayamfuri-Bibiani Road. The operations was led by the commander of the Operation Vanguard Force, Colonel Michael Amwa Ayisi, and it involved personnel from Ashanti Central and Eastern Forward Operating Bases. Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin reports.
The operation, which started on Thursday, June 14, 2018, ended in the early hours of Friday, June 15, 2018. Some of the communities where the operation was carried out include Ayamfuri, Brofuyedu, Abra, Breman, Treposo, Dominase, and Diaso, all in the Upper Dentra West District of the Central Region. The team also extended the operation to illegal mining sites in Bibiani Awaso, in Sefri Bibiani Anyaso, Bekwai District of the Western Region. The team seized 85 shamfans, 15 industrial water pumping machines, 8 excavators, 15 washing plants, and other mining equipment. Suspects arrested and items seized have been handed over to the Atachem police station in Dunkwa-Onofin for further investigations and possible prosecution. Colonel Michael Amwa AC is the commander of Operation Vanguard.
I'm just by the banks of River Ofin, precisely in the Dominasi area, bordering Ashanti region. I'm in Upper Dentra, west bordering Ashanti region, Bepotintin area from Amansie central area. And you can see that the Ofin River is improving due to some of the works that we have done on the river, flushing out the illegal miners, especially those using the shamfans and the dredging machines.
Operation Vanguard wants Ghanaians to support their activities to save the environment from destruction.
I want to appeal to all citizens that we, Vanguard alone, cannot achieve the successes and the impact that we are all yearning for. And therefore, I call on all good citizens of Ghana to help us as we drive them away. Areas that we have covered, please make sure that they don't come back. If you see them, inform us, or you yourself can even prevent them on your own from coming there, because if they don't give them access, if they are not given access, they cannot come there and mine. But because of the access that they are given. So I'm appealing to traditional rulers, opinion leaders, assembly members, good citizens of Ghana. Please help us to succeed and win this fight for Mother Ghana.
Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin's report for Joy News.
Up next, we bring you business news with Emmanuel Abadji-Yafi.
Hello, good evening to you. Time now for business. Now, the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, Ben Boakye, has questioned the absence of appropriate infrastructure to take off gas to be supplied from the country's third hydrocarbon development, the Sankofa Jinyami field. The field commenced operations of oil and gas on the 26th of June, that's exactly a week from today. Speaking to Joy Business on the sidelines of stakeholders' engagement on petroleum contracting and petroleum revenue management in Ghana, Ben Boakye advocates the extension of gas pipelines to handle the excess production of gas to be produced from the field, as the country will lose if such infrastructure is not made available.
No, ordinarily it should be good news, because they're going to push a lot of gas into Ghana, which would be good for power generation and also for industry. But we are a bit worried because we haven't seen progress, to consume the power or to coincide with the production of gas, because we expected car power to move to the Western Basin to consume the gas. It hasn't happened. The infrastructure to make that happen doesn't exist. So we don't know what plans government has to actually make use of the gas. But the danger is that if we get a gas and we don't use it, we're still going to pay for it, because it's a take-or-pay agreement. So that is a risk to government. So immediately we need to find a way to use the gas. Other than that, we're going to have to pay for gas that is not available.
How best do you think we could strike a good deal?
No, I mean, the deal is done. All you need is to use the gas and pay for it. So we have to make the systems in place to be able to utilize the gas. They are constructing a pipeline to be able to reverse the gas to the east, so that the pipelines that are probably stranded in the eastern corridor can have access to the gas. But my worry really is between 26th of this month, when gas starts operating, at the time when this construction works to make gas usable.
Network services provider GCNET has made a presentation of 8 million Ghana cedis to the Ministry of Finance as a second tranche of dividend payments from its operations in 2017. This brings to 17 million the total amount paid as government's share of the company's entire profit after tax in 2017. Executive Chairman of GCNET, Dr. Omabo Norte, addressing the media after a short ceremony to present the check, described the achievement as a magnificent one, considering its high operational cost for the year 2017. According to him, the company is poised to do more to ensure that government meets its revenue targets.
On from the results of 2017, today we presented a final dividend to government in the amount of 8 million Ghana cedis. This was the second payment for the 2017 year. Earlier in 2017, we had paid a dividend of 9 million Ghana cedis to government, and therefore with this final dividend, the total for 2017 amounts to 17 million Ghana cedis. GCNET has been a consistent payer of dividends to government. We have a dividend policy established by the government, and this is respected in detail by the company. As you know, the company supports government in revenue mobilization, and we deploy a number of systems used by the Revenue Authority, the Registrar General's Department, various stakeholders, the clearing agents, freight forwarders, etc., to expedite the clearance of their goods through the ports, thereby facilitating trade, but at the same time paying to government the revenues that are due to it. We also deploy a system for domestic tax collection, and so for your VAT, for corporate tax, for personal income tax, we have a system that is deployed also by GCNET.
Meanwhile, GCNET says through its efforts, Ghana has recorded more than 1 million registration of tax identification numbers. Supervised by the Ghana Revenue Authority, the GRA has issued notice to all citizens to get their TIN before they could get access to any public service, a development intended to drive tax collection in the country. According to the Executive Chairman of GCNET, Dr. Omabo Norte, the number of registration recorded last year is expected to increase as a result of this new directive.
One notable feature which we outlined to the minister was the fact that in November we recorded the highest TIN registration, in the history of this country, million TIN registered, and barely a month or so ago this figure increased by 50% to about 1.5 million. We anticipate that it will increase further as the government has now come out with some clear guidelines on what services one can use with or without a TIN number, and so the drive for TIN registration, which will also kick in to enhance revenue, is way on, and we are glad to be supporting the process. So not only are we directly involved in revenue mobilization, but also as a company, we do pay our taxes to government. We do not enjoy any special waivers on corporate tax or any exemption. We pay our VATs, we pay our domestic taxes, corporate taxes, and we are extremely compliant as a company.
Away from that, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture has signed an MOU with Israel for the training of some 50 Ghanaian agric students in Israel as a means to help improve vegetable production for export. The Technology Exchange Program will offer training to the students in modern agric practices, especially in the area of greenhouse vegetable production. In an interview after the signing ceremony in Accra, Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Usuefiyi Akoto, noted The initiative is part of his outfit's plans to make Ghana a leader in vegetable exports.
The Memorandum of Understanding between Ghana and Israel will commit the two nations to a long-term agreement for the cooperation and training of students in modern agriculture technologies, with key interest in greenhouse farming. According to the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Owusu Yakuto, the initiative will help the nation step up vegetable production.
There are graduates and diplomas that we've taken on for a very intensive 3 months training in greenhouse technology, and from there they go to Israel for 11 months to be attached to greenhouse farms, to learn, to actually have hands-on. So they come out 11 months being complete farmers, and the government of Ghana, through my ministry, is going to help them to settle as business farmers, where the production of vegetables will be something that they will do to grow their businesses, so that we can increase our exports of these vegetables to match or even exceed our proceeds from cocoa. We have such huge potential, and through the concept of these greenhouse villages, as I spoke to you in my address, I spoke about greenhouse villages. 3 of them, one in Akumadan, one in Kaswa area, and the other which is actually running and training at the moment. This is what is going to be the nucleus of a new concept coming to Ghana to develop our vegetable industry.
Under the agreement, the students will be paid monthly stipends for their 11-month internship in Israel to enable them set up their own greenhouse farms upon their return to Ghana. Ami Mel is the Israeli ambassador to Ghana.
This is a program of study and work. They are going to study 1 day a week, and the rest of the days are going to work. So they will learn hands-on what they have to do in the different sectors. Now, they're going to work in different sectors, not only in greenhousing, and they're going to be exposed to really good, advanced technologies that you cannot get them, up till now at least, in Ghana. And we are sure that they will learn a lot. They will bring those technologies here to Ghana, and they will make a real change in the agric.
The selection interview for the 50 students begins today, and qualified students are expected to leave for Israel in September.
And that's all we have for you by way of business tonight. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji Riafi. For more business news, log on to myjohnonline.com/business. Have a good evening.
Well, the true extent of destruction caused by Monday night's downpour only became apparent Tuesday morning. As Joy News reporters toured parts of the capital, they heard stories of misery and massive destruction to property. Joy News is learning there were 2 dead and 4 persons are still unaccounted for. Joy News' Joseph Akable, he visited some of the affected residents in Accra and reports from sitting rooms through kitchens to bathrooms. Many are struggling to salvage what they can and may probably have to spend another night in misery.
My journey to observe the impact of Monday's rains had the Teshi estate as my first port of call. Here, the residents of Kwabna Kumbon is the most affected. The wall that separates his house from his neighbors had caved in, destroying the sliding windows, rendering the home flooded. All parts of the house was greatly affected, and as at 9 a.m., he was yet to start clearing up the place. His wife and children had been moved to a guest house to seek refuge.
Take us in. We are still using the blocks, as you can see. It's simply tough to get access without relying on them. So we are just at the entrance. The shoes obviously have to go off. Same with the socks before we can get access. So that is, this is supposed to be the access to the kitchen. Yeah. The access to the kitchen, but I mean, obviously the water has taken over this portion. It's a bit cold in here. Yes. So
2. We have 4. My wife and we have 2 daughters.
So what's the plan? What?
I don't have a plan. It takes money to have a good plan. I don't know what I have to do. I don't know
Who do we appeal to? Is it Nadmu? I have no idea. But the point is we can't put up in a hotel for how long? Maybe a day or 2 or 3. Beyond that, what happens? This place is no more livable, at least for a very long time. So, everything is gone.
His neighbors whose wall caved in are simply devastated.
Yesterday, I think around 10 o'clock, it was drizzling when we went to sleep. And by 11 o'clock, and when I woke up, I just saw water in my room. Like, all my bed were wetted. It touched my room. It raised to a level of about 3 feet. And the whole house, everywhere is flooded. Yeah, that's what.
Kilometers away, the script remains the same with different actors, the Dowuners.
The story of Westland can be better understood if the narration begins from this level. It's simply a waterway where you expect large volumes of water coming from whichever part of this particular community to simply make way using this path. You won't believe it if I point out to you that on Monday evening, the water rose to its highest level, overflowed, and now moved into the houses that are close by. Now, the water came into the building. If you can see for the walls, this is the level at which the water got into. So right from the waterway level, it came this high. The entire compound was filled. So you can see right from the security post, they are trying very hard. What is taking place this morning in simple terms is Operation Salvage What You Can. So they are pushing the water out, they are trying to pump the water out, and they are trying to get everything out. There are some vehicles that are here on the car park. Now what happened was that when the water came in, these vehicles ended up being filled by the water. So we'll be engaging the owner of this facility shortly, but I just want to show you one of the vehicles. This vehicle. Two other vehicles. So this vehicle also was also affected. I mean, you can look into it. Lots of dust in there because the water, once it was gushing onto the compound, whatever item it came its way, it came along with it. And it ended up with a lot of sand, which can be seen inside the vehicle.
We looked outside and we realized that the road was flooded, and we became alarmed. And we realized that the water had reached halfway up our car tires, and then we realized we were stuck, we were trapped, we couldn't go outside anymore.
The home of Mr. Kwao and his family is a better example of how strong water can be. In the main house, it's a cleaning day. All hands on deck to get water out of the building. How soon will the situation change? From house to house, the stories remain the same, as you may well be aware.
Because we have no place to go, so we will live here. But maybe we'll put in some measures that can help prevent the water from coming in. That's what we can do. But because we don't have no place aside this place, we have nowhere to go.
It is the season of rains. Joseph Akable, Joy News.
Well, similar stories have been told across the capital. In other suburbs, the people there were not so fortunate. We're learning that there are 2 deaths, 2 reported deaths. 2 bodies have been retrieved, one of an 8-year-old and one of a 14-year-old. And there are 4 persons unaccounted for. Joining me in the studio is Greater Accra Regional Coordinator of the National Disaster Management Organization, Archibald Kobna.
8 and 40.
8 and 40. All right, so he's just giving me the details there. So we have 1 8-year-old and 1 40-year-old. Under what circumstances did these persons die?
One trying to get away to a safe point. In fact, from what I'm told, the mother was trying to save her and a sibling at the same time, but could not, so managed to just save one, and the other one
was swept
away in the process.
And then the 40-year-old?
The 40-year-old, we don't have details as to what happened.
But the body has been retrieved?
Yes.
Right.
And then we also have 4 missing, one from Adenta, 2 Sherman, and then 1 around Ablekuma South.
Now these deaths you're talking about, in which particular suburb of the capital?
Adenta.
What is the problem in Adenta? Because it appears the took quite a hit.
Adenta is a low-lying area, and you know that almost all the water that's coming from the eastern region usually collects at Adenta and then goes down gradually has to find its way into the sea. And so when you get to Adenta, you will see that there are quite a number of dams and ponds and what have you. These are water that collects within the areas and then gradually has to find its way out. So that is what happens. And then also will be some of these dams. I think in the case of yesterday, one of the dams got broken or spilled over seriously, and that's why there was serious flooding within that area, the Japan Motors area and 0.6, 0.8 and all of those areas. But we were there to do the best that we can.
When you say you were there, what did NADMO actually do?
We had calls, distress calls. A lot of calls started coming in right from the evening, and so we moved onto the grounds as they gave us directions as to where all of this was happening. And of course, we have our team and our staff scattered all over every district within Greater Accra. And so, and of course, Ghana, everywhere in Ghana by extension. So once we're going to have rain, or we are signaled by the metro that there's going to be rain, we put everybody on alert. And of course, we all know that June, July, August, these are serious rainy times. So
what tools do you have at your disposal, NADMO?
Well, it's not just tools that we have at our disposal, but we also have collaborators as well. For example, we work closely with the 48th Regiment, we work with the Navy, we work with the ambulance service, and all of those. In this case, we had 48 regiments came in to join at Adenta to help, because at some point the water level and the current was quite high, and so we needed them to come and support.
What sort of help did you give the people?
Well, those who are kind of stuck or trapped in homes and the water levels kept on rising. So at a certain point, you know that if you had a kid with you, then at a certain point they're going to be drowned, or at a certain point the adults yourself. So once we get information, and even when we get on the ground, the people within there come out with information and they tell us, okay, there's somebody trapped here, there's somebody trapped here. The National Emergency Team, Operations Team, ably led by Abu Ramadan, came on the ground to support the regional team. In fact, our Director General himself was on the ground as well with his deputies to come and support. So we have some divers, those who swim, and then when it gets to a serious point, we call in the Navy to come and help. And we have some life jackets that they have to put on and try and rescue them. And then where we find out that maybe a wall is blocking the way, or perhaps a building, then we'll have to break it down. We have water pumps that will help us to pump water out of the homes of individuals who need help. So like in the case of the one that we just saw, if we get to know where exactly, we'll send our team to go and help to pump the water out of the place. So we break some walls, we break buildings, we make sure that water would have its way, and where it is difficult, we get people and the personnel, the technical team, to go in, swim, and try and save people.
Mr. Kobina, what is NADMO's plan when there's a disaster like this? Yesterday or Monday night, we heard when it was raining. What plan did you have to activate, for instance, or you were just waiting for people to start calling?
No, that's why I said that even right at the district level, we have our teams there on standby, and therefore once we initiate it,
what gets them to react or move?
We call them from the regional level, and the district directors to speak to their zonal directors, so they get to move into their zones and see where they can help.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get. At what point did you decide that you're moving? Because it's raining, and that's what we all know. It's raining. What gets you to move? What gets NADMO to move?
Once we get the call, because
so you wait for calls.
No. I'm saying that the ground troops, so to speak, our ground team are always on standby. So once we have an operations team 24/7 at the district level, at the regional level, and at the national level. So when we see the signal, they get to move into the communities and see what they can do to help people within the communities. But of course, the staff strength and the areas. So once people call and say, I have a problem in this area, I'm stuck here and I need, then we zoom into those areas. Or maybe our staff will tell us that we are here, but the situation is overwhelming us and therefore we need backup. And of course, the national team as well. They have stationed 4 teams for the various zones within Greater Accra. Those who are for the Kaswa area, those who are for the Adenta area, the Teba area. So there's a setup that is ready. But I'm saying that sometimes the district call will let you know where the problem is.
All right.
And therefore we can zoom in there. But otherwise, the structure as it is always ready. When we see the signals, we get our people ready, we get them to move into the communities and see what they can do.
Okay. What are the most affected areas and what are you doing for those people?
Well, we Ashoman, Railway Crossing, Domi, Taifa, Achimota, Paraku Estates, Tema, Community 18, Spintex Road, Odona, almost Adenta, almost quite a number of areas were affected. And then, of course, the first thing that we needed to do was the search and rescue. And that's, well, even as we speak, before coming here, and I've been working, people have been calling, and we direct some to the headquarters, the team will move in, or to the regional team to get moving. So we're still doing our search and rescue situation, and then we help to pump out water from people's home, and then where we need to support with some relief, we do so.
All right.
So it's not only rain, there was heavy wind that ripped off a lot of roofs, and we need to support people and all of that. So once it comes, whatever is available, we use that to give relief. And like you know, it's just relief.
We'll talk a bit more about the relief that you have been providing to the people who have been affected. But right now on the phones, we have Reverend Steve Nyakotekwa. He is an aviation meteorology inspector for Ghana. He joins us live. Thank you for making time to join us, Reverend Kwao. Now, what can you tell us about the downpour that we had yesterday? Was it the kind of downpour that would result in floods?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good evening to all viewers. In fact, the storm was observed to the east of the country, yesterday. It moved from the south region, that's the Congo area, Cameroon, Nigeria, Benin, and Togo. Now, as it approached the eastern coast, that is at that area, it split into two. One half went overland and the other one veered over the sea. Now, due to the wind flow over the sea at that time, the one over the sea was adverted inland to converge with the one which had already moved over that same area and stagnated over the Greater Accra region for a very long time. And that was what produced that strong winds that we experienced. And this was also accompanied by very, very, very heavy amounts of rainfall distributed over the coastal belt and then some parts of the mid portions of the country. In fact, for example, the highest value of 123.9 millimeters was reported at Salt Pond. We have Takrade reporting 119.0, Tema 67.4 millimeters, and then Accra 90.1 millimeters, which is in fact on the very high side. This was accompanied by very heavy rains. In fact, when we move to the mid portions of the country, anytime a storm moves, the northern periphery graces the southern parts of the northern region. So areas like Akachi had 19.7. We had Akuse reporting 58.5, Kofredia 37.3, Achimda 50.8. Values over this region also was on the high side, but they had a different system. They are still in the thunderstorm and lightning season, whereas the coastal belt is being affected by what we refer to as a monsoonal type of rain, that is sea to land effect, because of high temperatures which are being recorded on land higher than the sea. So there is always a drive of wind from the sea inland, and definitely when this happens, it pushes a lot of moisture inland to result in clouds, and then the resultant effect will be what we experienced, yesterday. So it was widespread. Bonso reported 54.0. Pokwase, to the northern parts of Dakar, had 104.0. And then Huhunya in the eastern region, 34.3.
All right.
Similar.
Now, Reverend,
yes.
You're talking about all these figures, but to bring it into perspective, how does this compare with similar downpours that we've had in recent times?
It's no different from the rainstorms that we had previously, but the significant aspect of what happened yesterday was, in fact, the intensity of the wind, the direction of the wind, the orientation of the various pressure systems within the country as at that time. In fact, during this time, we have a high pressure system. High pressure system is where you have a center, and then you have winds blowing out of the center, spreading outward. And that pressure system was located very close to the coast, and it was the central part of value is very high. So definitely with that force, winds emanating from the center of this high pressure system would definitely drive wind. So that is the significant aspect of it. Otherwise, we had rainfall amounts higher than even what we experienced yesterday.
So the wind compounded the situation?
It was the wind, actually. We had a southerly wind. In fact, when the storm split into two, the one which veered over the sea later on merged or resurfaced on land, and that merged with the one on land. So we have two wind components.
All right.
The northeasterly wind, and then that one from the south, which brought in a lot of moisture.
Reverend, what sort of forecast are we looking at in the next few days or weeks?
Yeah, looking at the forecast, we would like to compare or take a look at a few parameters. That is the temperature values, which are still very high on land, higher than the sea, and that would definitely continue to drive in, the winds, which will bring in a lot of moisture inland. And then the pressure values are also reducing significantly over the sub region. Currently, as I speak to the station, the source region for the storms is still very active. That is the Congo, Cameroon, parts of Nigeria, Benin, and Togo. There is one other storm approaching, and it's located to the northeastern part of Nigeria. That's the Kando area. Then to the south of that one, it's another developing, thunderstorm cloud, whose leading edge is over Port Harcourt. That is the southeastern part of Nigeria, very close to the coast. And then we have other isolated developments over the sea. Now, during the period, all of these will develop. Now, depending on which wind overrides the other, all these storms are expected to move westward. But then, notably, anytime we have such a strong windstorm, stability is normally established. But then along the coast, we are experiencing what we call a monsoonal type of rain, that is sea to land.
Right.
You don't need too much temperature to drive the wind or to bring the rain. The accumulation of the moisture alone, gives rise to what we experienced yesterday, which will be different from what will be experienced over the mid portions and the northern sector of the country. So we're looking at...
You're talking about a storm system forming somewhere in Nigeria. When can we expect it to make landfall here in Ghana?
That will move over the northern sector. We're looking at 36 hours from now.
All right.
Because the central value is very low, that's pressure-wise, and the circulation is also very strong, spreading over a wide expanse of area, and that is expected to move over. So 36 hours from now, it's expected that will hit the northern periphery of the mid portions of the country, that is Ketekrachi, and Hohoe. Then when you move to the eastern region, in Koko area, the Konongo, then we have most of these areas over the Brong Ahafo region, Kitampo, Atebubu, go also in the southwestern parts of the Brong Ahafo region. This one will be affected, this area. Now, as the storm moves, it will induce a lot of cloudiness over the northern sector, and that will definitely affect some of these areas, because as of tonight, we are having an active one very close to the northeastern part of the country, that Bolgatanga and Boku area. But looking at the central value, that will not give rise to any intense, wind or rain. But if it stagnates over the area for some time, the one approaching from Kano will merge with that one, and then the central value will expand.
All right.
When the expansion takes place, it's going to cover a wider area up north.
All right. Thank you very much, Reverend Steve Nyakote Kwao, for bringing us those updates and the forecast as far as the rain is concerned. We still have here in the studio the Greater Accra Regional Coordinator of NADMO, Archibald Kobna. Now, you've heard what the meteorologist has had to say. Is it something that you're prepared for?
Of course. I think that we are already on standby. We're just going to up the
How much of this information has already gotten to you as an admiral?
Oh, we always have regular weather warnings, morning, evening. So we are always prepared.
I was talking about the relief earlier, and I was asking what sort of relief has been given, if any at all, to residents of the places that have been affected?
Yeah, well, what we do is that we do the assessments, and we give the reliefs that we give to the various districts, and so we direct.
Has anything been given out yet?
Yes, we've given out roofing sheets, we've given out some mattresses in some areas. Tomorrow we're going to give out some more, and then we also have bales of foods that we give to those who need, dresses and things like that. We also have rice for food and oil for people to be able to do some cooking whilst they need to put themselves together and all of that. So those are things that we're working on. Work is in progress as we speak. At Medina right now, we have about 2-3 areas that they are pumping out water as we speak.
NADMO is involved.
Yes, NADMO is doing it.
It will be helpful if
we have been able to rescue over 200 people as we speak.
All right. It will be helpful if you could share your contact lines with us so that we can share with the rest of the public.
Thank you.
And so that they'll know when or who to contact when they find themselves in this situation. So
I think because of time, I have a list here.
All right.
All our district directors from the various districts.
An emergency?
That one, yes, I'll give you the emergency lines straight on. But I want you to know that I'll hand these documents to you so that at your own pace you can share that. So that those who are within Domi, they know who is the head at Domi. Those are around Tema. They know who they can speak to in terms of the locality.
So,
but then
we will be sharing these phone numbers that Mr. Kobna is talking about on our Facebook page. So please stand by. We'll be sharing the numbers there so you can know which community or who to contact in your community.
Thank you. But the head national emergency line 0299 350 030 0299 350 030. Then we have 0299 350 024. 0299 350 024. The regional line 0299 350 434. 0299 350 434 and 435. These are the emergency lines for the national and the regional
Okay. Another thing we're going to be doing, we're going to be scrolling the numbers that Mr. Kobna has just shared with us. 02993503030 is going to be in the crawl bar. So look at the bottom of your screen. Those numbers are going to appear. You should take down those numbers, because in these times of rain, it is important that you have those numbers so that when you find yourself in a distress situation, you can call them for assistance. But thank you very much, Mr. Kobna, for joining us. Before you go, though, I'd like you to tell the people, our viewers, what they have to do in times of emergency.
Well, I think that very simple things, not to wait even for emergency. Those who know where they live, slummy areas that are prone to floods, at least you know the direction of the water, and so there are things that you can do. For example, sandbags, for example, piercing holes to ensure that the water can have exit.
So holes in your walls.
Holes in your walls so that they can have exit. But sometimes in doing that, you need to, and that's why the various districts are very important,
right,
so that they can help you.
They can assist you to do it the right way.
To do the right way, so that you don't go and pierce the hole at where the water would rather enter instead of where it has to exit.
Right.
And that's why we need them to know who the district directors are, and so that they can get them to join them in helping them to help themselves. Of course, we also have what we call safe havens. In every area, the land pattern is different. Some are low lying, some are up, and you need to locate the assembly members. They should be involved and get community leaders in helping to identify safe havens, so that when the rain starts, we can move people gradually before it gets to a higher level. Right. We should quickly put off electrical gadgets and all the plugs and what have you within, if you like, your meter, you can put it off, so that, and we too, for example, when we are notified about some emergency situations, sometimes immediately we call the ECG and ask that they should put the light off within the jurisdiction.
All right, so you could be the reason why some people are without electricity right now.
Yes, and it's necessary, because you see, sometimes when you get there, you see some of the poles and some of the wires, and the way, the way sometimes we are indisciplined in handling electricity and getting people electricians to fix things and all of that. So it's necessary that you put off the risk of getting people electrocuted. And you know, like the June 3rd situation, once electricity enters the water, however distance it travels, it can electrocute the whole area. And of course, those who are coming to rescue people. So it's a very necessary precautionary measure. And I don't think people should be bashing the ECG for that. Sometimes we call and ask that should be done, so that we can have a safe ground to go in and rescue people.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Kobna, for spending time with us and for educating our viewers.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm so grateful.
We're taking a break here on Joy News Prime. Residents of Koforidua Zongo in the Eastern region are pushing for the establishment of an Islamic College of Education in the area. According to them, the college, when established, will help instill Islamic morals in their children. As part of Joy News' agenda on Zongo development, correspondent Kofi Sian reports leadership of the Zongo community have already secured the land for the takeoff of the College of Education.
Koforidua Zongo, unlike many Zongo communities across the country, stands out. It is a well-planned settlement with good road networks. For residents here, one major problem they have been confronted with is lack of proper drainage system. The situation has been the cause of perennial flooding in some areas.
As for our rooms, it enters. That is the main reason why we ourselves, we did all this thing, because of the rain. It does enter in our room, so we want them to come and help us.
When the gutter is full, it's coming to the house. Sometimes we can't even sleep in the room, so we have to move our things outside until the wind finishes raining.
I caught up with Abu Moro, who sells a herbal tea popularly known as attire. While I took a sip, Abu tells me the only way to solve the perennial flooding is for government to construct bigger drains and occasionally dredge existing ones.
All the trees are in the middle of the stream, you see. So now always if the river comes, now it passes this way. It passed this way behind this house, then enter the house on the road. So right now here is the main problem. Before you get the correct stream, unless you uproot all the trees here, straight, that's the problem.
Beyond this major challenge, residents see education as a key to unlocking many challenges confronting the Zongo community. Spokesperson for Zongo Chiefs, Alhaji Nuruddin Tala, tells me they want government to absorb the only senior high school in the area.
We have one secondary school, SSS, which is Khalid Ibn Walid School, but it's a private school. We like the government to adopt it into government institution. That is very. We learn Arabic there, we learn English also there. It's been there for a long time, but our problem is we want the government to help us adopt it into government institution. The former president Muhammad, when he came here, I even gave the documents to him. He had wanted to let it take off, but very unfortunate. He lost the election. And so even the president, when the president came, we told him the same thing. And last month, when the vice president came, he also took that documents. So that is more important. When that school is adopted, then I think we are a little safe.
Beyond this appeal, residents, as part of government Zongo development policy, want a college of education established to reduce the struggle to get qualified teachers to teach Islamic subjects. As part of effort to see the dream come true, the Muslim Mission has secured a 6-acre land situated in the heart of Koforidua Zongo for the project. Hajia Farida is regional women leader.
To be precise, Ghana Muslim Mission. I belong to the Ghana Muslim Mission, and one of our objectives is to have a Islamic College of Education. Yes, we have a land here in Zongo here, in this community here. So I think with that fund, if the government can come to our aid to help us put the College of Education up, it will go a long way to help the Muslim community, the youth, I mean everybody in totality. Because we are hoping that as we have in other, let me say, Christian communities, we have, for instance, I attended SDA, Seventh-day Adventist College of Education. We were mixed, even though I wasn't a member of the church, but we all attended. At the long run, I'm a teacher now, certificated teacher, teaching. But when we come to the Zongo community, we have other teachers teaching Arabic. But because we don't have any college that will build up that Arabic for them, they are there as Makaranta teachers. They are not known. They don't have certificate. No way to help.
For residents here, they cannot trade education for anything as far as the Zongo Development Fund policy is concerned. Edwin Kofisian, Joy News, Koforidua.
We're taking a break here on Joy News Prime to bring you sports, and coming up in sports, well, it turned out that Senegal, they beat Poland to secure Africa's first win at the ongoing FIFA World Cup in Russia. We have the details coming up. Egypt, they were not so lucky, they lost. And we have all that coming up. Stay tuned. That's it for the bulletin. My name is Israel Lai. Have a good night.
This is Joy News Prime.